Hi friends, Chandrasekhar here again. Now we are into the 13th lecture on yogas. We shall be talking about Shri Kantha Yoga. Shri is both the Lord Vishnu. Shri is also Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi, the um, Goddess of wealth. Kantha means the throat. The throat area is called Kantha. Whatever is worn in the Kantha around the neck is the Sri Kantha, a valuable necklace, you can call it, and this should be the meaning of the yoga. And it generally implies somebody who is worthy of being respected. As you will understand with the results of the yoga, this will be perhaps a smaller lecture, although I am never sure. As you know, I have a habit of going on, talking for a longer period, and if I exceed my 20 minutes limit, you excuse me. But if it is shorter, then also you should pardon me. So, what is this Sri Kantha Yoga? How is it described? It is said Lagnadhishwara Bhaskara Amrutakaraha. I am breaking the words so that it becomes easier to understand, because Sanskrit words are generally they are called sandhis. They are joined together in certain condition. So Lagnadhishwara Bhaskara Amrutakaraha Kendra Trikonashrita Trikona Swocha Swarksha Suhrada Gruha or other Gruhana Upagata Sri Kantha Yogo Bhavet. Lagnadhishwar means Lord of the Ascendant. Bhaskar is name of sun. Sun as in sun, sun, the Surya. Also means somebody who shines and ones who can make things apparent, uh, visible is Bhaskar. And Amrutakara is moon. So, when these three, the Lord of the Lagna, Sun, and Moon, are placed in Swocha, Swarksha, or Surda. So, I mean, house is Gruha is house. So, we can say in the house of or the Rashi, which is their Rashi of exaltation, or a Rashi owned by them, or a Rashi of their friend. And they are placed in Kendra, that is a square, or in trines. Then all three of them. Then a yoga called as the Shrikanta Yoga occurs. Is the aphorism, what we call shloka. I use both the Sanskrit and English words so that over time you get used to the words and their meaning. So I try to explain the meaning of even the names of the yoga sometimes to make it easier to understand. And what happens when such a position obtains? When Amrutakaraha is said, that means all the three have to be there in those positions. The Lord of the Lagna, the Sun, and the Moon should all be in such positions, that is in Kendra, that is square, or in trines, that is Trikona, and obviously endowed with strength as they ought to be in their signs of exaltation or own houses or in a house of a friend. So, in these conditions, this yoga happens. What does it indicate? They say he can be a great sage, he will be worshipper of Lord Shiva, one who wears the signs of Lord Shiva, which are the Rudraksha. It's a bead of a particular type, which is actually, you can call it a fruit of a particular tree. which dries and has a particular shape and markings and other things, and wears the bhasma. Another side is the mm, sacred ash, as they call it in English. He wears that because that is also sign of Lord Shiva, and he follows the dharma. Dharma has a larger connotation. Dharma means that which is worthy of being held. So it means both the religion, because at least Hindu religions has certain duties cast upon you. Most of the religions do have, but the duties may vary. And so he is a righteous person. This is the basic indication of this person. Then he also is ordained by somebody who is also the disciple of God Shiva, Lord Shiva. Now, why this Shiva is coming? I try to make you understand at least my point of view, my understanding of why Shiva comes here. There are many reasons, and there could be even more, and the learned might have different views, but I am giving my views. I have already always said that these lectures are my interpretation of what has already been said by the sages, and I am no sage. I am somebody who is also in the quest of knowledge, as all of you are. Otherwise, you would not want to, learn astrology. It's a quest of knowledge which is never ending. At my age, also, I am still studying. I am as uh, small a student or as beginner a student as you all are. Only my age is more. So I have got some experience, and that is all. So he also helps good people. Uh, it is called he helps sadhus, but sadhus means people who are good, gentlemanly people. He is, they call it Tejasvi. Now, this Tejasvi is a bit difficult to interpret in English. It can be interpreted as effulgent, but it is more like he has a sort of aura of what being righteous naturally, and he is always, he worships Lord Shiva all the while and always happy. He helps others. He has good feeling about others. He doesn't have enmity with anybody, and he can also be fine with people of different religions. He has no problems of other religions. He also has good, what can I call it? Sadbhav is difficult to explain, but still, he has good feelings about people of all religions. He takes them, let us say, at the same level as he would treat his people of his own religion also. So, saints of other religions also would come into that ambit. Now, we can understand that if the Lord of the Lagna, that is ascendant, which represents the entire personality of the person, Sun, we call it soul, but I would say the self-confidence and righteous behavior come to Sun. Extremely confident person who can have good administrative skills, and Moon is the mind. Now, if your confidence doesn't go to the level of ego or overconfidence, if your mind is steady and your personality is well balanced, then it follows that you will do all those things which are said or given as the result of this. I try to give the shloka itself in the the something that appears below, which is about what this lecture is about. It will be in Devanagari and also in transliterated English, that is Roman script. So you can follow what I am saying. So now, what is this Shiva Bhakta? Shiva relates to pure knowledge. Please understand this. And pure knowledge which doesn't have form, which is called ajanma, that which is never born, because it exists. See, the idea of never born is one that exists. It is formless. That is why Lord Shiva doesn't have a idol in the typical sense that we understand it. We have got it in a linga form, a particular form which has a staff in between and a supporting system, and from where when water is poured it runs somewhere. So this water represents the knowledge, and that knowledge comes from the deity and is distributed amongst everybody who needs knowledge. So that is the form of Lord Shiva, what is called as the Shivalinga. Unfortunately, people connect it with some phallic symbol, and that is because linga also means phallus, but linga in Sanskrit also means a sign. What can I call it? Hmm. A symbol. Linga is a symbol. Alinga is one who doesn't even have a symbol. So something which is only comprehended by your mind, if you care to understand it. So please understand this. Otherwise, that linga becomes immediately phallus, and the pada, the support system which is there, the knowledge falls and it goes somewhere, it rests there, and then is, you know, carried to everybody who needs it. That is the idea behind the Shivalinga proper. At least this is my understanding of it. Because he in Guru Gita, if I remember right, he says, Dharmam Sankham Mayoditam. The Dharma and the Sankhya, the philosophy, is born out of me. All the sciences are born out of me. That is pure knowledge. And that is why he is the only God which is never born. All other gods have births and the you can call it mythology, I will call it scriptural description of how they were born. Again, there also a lot of iconography is there, so don't understand in the normal way. But for some people, it is difficult to think in abstract. This is the abstract form. Knowledge is always abstract. Knowledge is never in a physical form, as you can understand, and everybody has his own level of understanding. So this is what it is talking about. This Shiva doesn't have any, ornaments or nothing like that, and so it is pure knowledge. And somebody who follows pure knowledge, naturally, if he has good self-confidence, his mind is steady, and his personality is balanced, a person is bound to seek this knowledge. Now, where would those planets be? Because ascendant represents your personality as such, complete personality. Sun represents confidence, Atmabal we call it, self-confidence, not ego. Please understand, when it becomes too much, then it can translate into ego, as we will see when I talk about position of sun in different bhavas somewhere. And I think I have already given that lecture, so I need not repeat it here. And moon is something which is variable. So unsteadiness is also part of moon, remember that. But if moon is strong, then obviously he will be much more balanced. And with all this, it is natural because at least in Hindu culture, knowledge is the ultimate aim of any living being, be it human beings, be it the animal kingdom, as we call it. We are also animals. I mean, we have that ego that we are not animals, but we are animals of a different type. We have got two legs, we walk erect, human erectus they call it. So that is all, and we can speak and communicate easily and also write. So our communication is faster. Animals also speak. Those who have reared animal will understand. They speak in their own language. If you understand, then they can communicate with you. Only they can't write, so that transmission of knowledge is limited. So I have gone away from the point, and I'm sure you will pardon me for that. Now, when will this be at its highest? Obviously, when those planets are in their sign of exaltation, isn't it? But remember, they have also to be placed in a trine or a square, which of course is possible with sun and moon if they are in the ninth house or the excuse me, the ninth and tenth or fourth and fifth, if that is the placement of their rashis, then that is possible, because then it will be 1 and 2, isn't it? Aries is where the great sun achieves his exaltation, and Taurus is moon's exaltation sign. But if they are in own house, still the same thing, 4 and 5. So you can understand what can happen. But then they have to be at particular position. Then one has to be in, like if it is 4 and 5, then moon better be in the fourth house and sun be in the fifth house, Kendra and Korna. If the other way around, then moon will have to be in trine, the ninth house, and sun will have to be in the 10th house. Almost similar for their exaltation signs. Lord of the Lagna, it depends on what Rashi it is. So it will also have to be, I mean, if this has to be strongest, then perhaps it could be one of these planets, or could be Venus, or Mars, and so on. So you can understand what is being said. Now, there would still be one question, that if moon is bereft of the what we call the Pakshabala, the fortnightly strength, then the impact may not be as high, and that is why they have also said Suhruda, because sun and moon are friends. Please remember, so moon going to sun's house would be considered good instead of bad, though it would be Amavasya time. He would be totally bereft of the fortnightly strength, Pakshabala, which is also called its Vakrabala in astrology. You have now, I mean, you are all learned people, you know that. So remember that in certain bhavas or certain lagnas, they would be felt or expressed with more intensity, the results of the yoga that I have told you about. And in certain places they would not be as strong, but they would still be strong. But my contention is all the three planets should be placed like that. It would not do if only two are there, they would make a difference, but on a lesser scale. With one, I don't think the yoga will fructify in the way that it is described. Because sun himself, by the way, I forgot to tell that sun himself is also one who imparts knowledge. There is a legend about sun having taught all the Vedas to Lord Hanumana while he was traveling, and Hanumana was following him from east to west till he set. So he is also, and the Adhidevata of sun is again Lord Shiva. So you can understand the connection between the two. And moon's Adhidevata is Gauri, the consort of Shiva, which is also one of the form of goddess Lakshmi. So that is why sometimes the names are used in a particular fashion. So here the Shri refers more to, rather than the wealth, it relates to wealth of knowledge. And that is how we should understand this yoga. And remember that strength has to be there. Generally in Aries or even in Leo Lagna, the position might be even better. In Aries it will be best, perhaps. And this is how we will have to find out, try to understand what is happening there, and then we can come to a conclusion whether a person like this. But please remember, when I am talking about yogas and their results, don't take them in isolation, because other planets will also be aspecting or influencing those places, and their position in Navamsha strength should also be understood. Here, what is being talked about, sign of exaltation and their own rashis and their friends' rashi, which is a big area anyway. And obviously, if they are in exaltation, the intensity would be more. If in own house, it would be lesser, and in friends' house, it would be lesser. If placed in trines, the strength would be better. If in trine and a square are occupied by these planets, the strength would be much higher. This is how we come to an understanding of how yoga manifests and why its results are given in a certain fashion. Here you will mark there is nothing like, what can I call it? The yoga for great wealth, etc. They are not talking about. Though there would be wealth because trines and squares, if they are strong, wealth would be there, part of it. But perhaps the wealth would be more in the form of knowledge. That is why the Shiva Bhakta, and he receives knowledge from his Shiva Bhakta. So he will gain his knowledge from somebody who is also learned in great sciences. In this fashion, we should understand this yoga, and then the yogas can fructify, and the strength also must always be understood. And so, I have almost completed 20 minutes self-imposed time limit. Fortunately, this time maybe 5 or 10 seconds more, and I shall take your leave. And a very good night. Thank you very much.